Greetings in the name of His Majesty Haile Selassie I, King Rastafari. I would like to have a little reasoning about this, the herb, marijuana. But I want to include a little bit about this too. This is ginger. Yesterday, St. Vincent and the Grenadines passed two bills in their parliament. One to establish a medical marijuana industry, and another bill that sort of trying to include the traditional farmers, or to outline the process for them to become involved. The first one, medical marijuana, there's no such thing. That is an invention. The SVG government has seen it fit to follow the reptilian agenda. The reptilian agenda is poised to do this, to reclaim the profits from marijuana production and to transfer it into the hands of the elite, to give it to those people who had nothing to do in the past about marijuana except to vilify it and to criminalize those who were involved with it. To stress this point, let me use Canada as an example. I live here, so I know. Some of the people at the forefront having the permits and the license were ex-commissioners of police, ex-parliamentarians, and other high officials, and friends in the corporate industry. They are the ones who now are at the leading front of this new gold rush. The Prime Minister himself, Mr. Trudeau, the young Trudeau, said that he's doing this to take marijuana out of the hands of criminals. That again is a facade. The people who made a living by marijuana were very poor people, and still are poor people. Many of them are mothers and fathers, brothers and sisters, and they are loving and kind and generous as anyone else can be. These people took a risk and are still taking risk to feed their families. But they are all bundled into what Mr. Trudeau called to take marijuana out of the hands of criminals. He made no provision for these people. There was no thinking about what they will do when it becomes illegal and they can no longer make a living by it. There was no provision for these people. Now, license can be granted, but there are tiers and tiers that you have to meet, different kinds of requirements that only the rich and wealthy will be able to meet. Now let's get to SVG, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Two bills became law yesterday. One to establish the medicinal industry. Again, that's a myth. The word medicinal is a concoction that is used to legitimize the manufacture, the production, the sale of marijuana by the powers that be. They are legitimizing their access to the monies and the incomes that can be generated from marijuana. Is that justice? Is that just? Is that honesty? No, it is not. It is not honesty. To the poor man who took risk upon risk of being incarcerated, to grow the herb, to tend it, to increase the yield, to experiment with seeds, to create a better yielding herb today. For what? All to naught. Now these same planters, many of them, are being asked to bring in their seeds, to hand over their crops, and then to sign a paper to say that they are criminals. They are being asked to criminalize themselves by a government with a leader who claims to be a fighter for reparations for black people. And this is what he is doing to black people. But only fools will accept what he's handing down. Only a fool will accept and give up his livelihood. Only a fool will sign a paper to a government to say that he's a criminal, that he's been committing acts against the state. You can never benefit from that. If you are one of those planters, you will never benefit from signing that paper to say that you are a criminal. That is foolishness. Reparations is something that the victim has a voice in. The perpetrator government cannot be the one to decide who, when, how, and what amount must be given for reparations. If that be the case, then Ralph needs to shut his mouth when he goes around the world to talk about reparations for black people. He is doing exactly the opposite of what needs to be done. People, open your eyes, become wise. It is going to cost you a lot to get a license, and you can only get it at the whim of a minister of government who may not be in your favor, who knows that you are a signed criminal, and who will also know that the state cannot be seen to be giving benefits to anyone who has committed crimes against the state. You cannot repay them for those crimes. People, open your eyes, awaken your conscience and your consciences. Your consciousness is not there if you are aligning yourself with this gold rush grab. You are heading down the wrong path. Why is ginger? Why don't they going to be saying medicinal ginger soon? Are they going to be saying that? This is a medicine in itself. It is also good for recreational use and for many other uses. So is this. So is this. Don't let them fool you. Rastaman been demanding the legalization of marijuana from the beginning. It is not a new cry or a call. This is not something anti-Ralph that we are saying. This is something that is anti-oppression. Anti-oppression. This is something that is linked to the reparations for black man historically. Poor nations are being kept down because of international agreements. Now let me ask Ralph, when you were signing these agreements, Did you consult with your people? Or were you just thinking you were acting in the best way on their behalf? Well, you were not. You are a person who kisses the ring of the Pope. The Catholic Church is responsible for reparations to the First Nations people of America and to African people. You owe your allegiance to the leader of that church. You don't owe your allegiance to Africans. We know that. Stop fooling our people. Stop fooling black people. And my people in SVG, you need to wake up. You need to shake off the religious cloak that have you, shredded and divided against yourself. You have to stop being cowards. That's the only time you can be free. The only time. So give thanks, blessings to you, and hopefully you will wake up.